All right, so let's begin the show with a very interesting topic of discussion. Financial planning is something that's important at every stage of your life, but when it comes to getting married, it's imperative for you to know the financial habits of your partner. You have a future ahead of you where you will have joint financial goals, a whole structured way to decide on your expenses and also plan your retirement together. This really sounds like a lot, right? So, with so much at stake, you definitely can't go wrong with the person you're getting married to. So, here we are helping you out to plan your finances with your partner better. I have with me Vinayak Sapre, author, public speaker, financial coach, with me on this very important topic. So, Vinayak, today we are going to help our viewers match the financial kundli for them, so because this is a very crucial decision of their life and a lot of things that they have to plan together. The first step towards getting this right, how do you match your financial kundli?
Yeah. So thank you, Kavita, for having me on the show and a fantastic topic once again. I think it is very, very important to match financial horoscope as well, especially in today's world where most of the marriages that are happening, they are not arranged marriage but love marriage. So a good thing is during the courtship, both the boy and girl, they get to know each other, and I'm sure they, in especially today's kids who are much smarter, they do discuss many things, not only uh, the the love life, but the future life as well as a husband and wife. So it is very important that they both agree in financial matters, and then it becomes easy to plan for the future and understanding each other's hobbies and interests and priorities as well.
All right. So something very important, and I know it's also buzzing around in our newsroom also, whether men actually feel loaded with the kind of expenses they have to bond once they are married to
Yeah.
someone. So first thing first, how do you actually plan all of this? Okay, because we are talking about having financial goals together. We are having about a life together where you not only have your own personal goals, but you also have a retirement together. If you are someone who would want to plan a family, you need to have a plan to get your kids raised, give them better and a best education. And also, if you're someone who's the single earning member or the person in the family, this really needs to be taken care of in terms of your compromises or adjustments and a reality check of lifestyle that you need to stick to post getting married. So how do you analyze these situations? Two scenarios I've given you over here. One marriage where there's only a single earning member, and one where both of them are working.
Yeah. So again, first thing first, if single earning member, it is very, very essential that both of them, they should be on the same page, discuss things in detail, because in the initial years, especially after marriage, if they have the kid, uh, raising the kid today is a very, very big expense, and nobody wants to send them these days. Nobody wants to send them to a government school, though most of us have studied in government school, but yes, these days they don't want to. And the expense to in raising the kids, even a 4-year-old kid, they in some cases I have come across where the parents are paying around 80,000 rupees per quarter, which is like 3.2 lakhs a year. So it is important that where they want to make adjustments, because if you call it compromise, obviously they will not going to like it. So how they can make adjustments with the expenses. And second issue which comes in, especially in metro cities, whether they want to live in far away suburbs or in the town areas. Again, town areas, they are very expensive. So, and the aspirations of in case of double income couple, the aspirations are very, very high. So again, the red flags are that discuss with each other, decide on these things, get a reality check done, and then only you start taking the decisions. Because in case of double income couple, important thing is, because both of them have they believe that they have the authority of money, many times they may end up forcing individual choices or preferences on each other, and which may lead to bigger issue. So the best thing is sit with a financial advisor if possible, and then decide on, as per the income, what should be their expenses. And also one need to keep in mind that the way people have been losing the job, you have done the show on this, that the way people have been losing the jobs, one needs to keep some provision for that as well, uh, s- even when you are, whether you are double income or single income.
So, a lot of times, Vinayak, now also if we see, spouses are really not, couples are really not comfortable talking about their finances with each other. Even if they both are earning, they really don't want to sit down and talk about how much are their expenses, where are they putting their money, where are they investing their money. So, first of all, a lot of work needs to be done on the mindset where people think that they are just too independent to sit down and discuss about their goals and maybe have joint goals also. How do you
Yeah.
have this conversation? Because I think that is the key point, and that is almost like a starter,
Yes.
to just come down and even share how much you earn annually, because a lot of couples don't even do that,
Yeah.
especially in love
So
marriages where they think that money is not important, and maybe which is also a very key point. But
yeah.
end of the day, it really comes down to how much you earn, what are your expenses, and how do you plan to live this life together, right?
Yeah, yeah. So one is, for example, when people come to me, if any one of them come to me, I say that, see, it's a journey. You will enjoy only when you will, walk together. So if you have decided to live together, then you need to uh, share the information, share the each other's priorities, the preferences, and one needs to respect that as well. Secondly, people find it difficult to discuss finances at times with each other. You are right. At that point in time, it's better to identify a person who can be used as sounding board. If you do not want to hire a advisor, it's better to hire a professional advisor. But if one doesn't want to, in that case, it is always better to take some guidance from a person who is experienced. But I think not sharing the information about the earning, I think that is not a good idea. So it is always better that, because if you have decided to walk together in the journey, it is, ये बहुत जरूरी है that you need to walk along, and you need to share all these things with each other and with the person you are taking the advice. If in my case, if people find it uncomfortable bringing their spouses, I say that if you are uncomfortable with your spouse, how come you will be comfortable with me? And first of all, I am not comfortable with you discussing your goals, which are combined goals. So it is essential that one need to have uh, individual goals. They will have, no matter if I say that there should be only combined goals, there will be individual goals, but priority should be given to the combined goal, because you have decided to come together to live together and to have a family as well if wish to. And then individual goals should be given the preferences as per the financial condition or the financial book. We say that if the book size is decent, the prioritize the priorities. The top priority should, if it is well taken care of, then individual goals should be considered.
One very practical aspect of this entire process I want you to explain our viewers is managing your money. Especially when it comes to your expenses. It's very imperative for couples to know how to, maybe for someone who needs to have a joint account for expenses, what could be that tips or tricks that you might want to suggest to our viewers, where after getting married, if they are planning to have their expenses in a joint account, or maybe divide financial responsibilities among each other, how can one
Yeah,
go
yeah.
about it?
So again, a very good question. That one is, if you have the joint expense, I mean, decided to have a joint account where the expenses will be made. I think two things people should keep in mind, especially the newlywed people. Obviously, in the initial years, the splurge has to happen. No matter if I say that you need to live frugal life, but if you decide that whatever is the income, a certain amount need to go for your savings, which will turn into investment, and then whatever is left will be spent. Uh, on the other hand, when you are categorizing or deciding that which expense will be taken care by which person, I think depending on the nature, because if you depending on the nature of the person, if you decide sit and decide that, say for example, somebody who is extravagant and spends on things which may not look the need of the hour, they just look a desire or a want. I think for that, those kind of expenses, say for example, some people love to buy phone every 6 months or 1 year. In that case, the spouse uh, which is frugal in nature, who doesn't spend too much, should take that kind of expenses, so that you can just delay those instant gratification, those urge to keep on buying the new things, so that you can keep a control on those expenses which are not the need of the hour. And by doing that, you can avoid many expenses which can be done in the next 6 months, 1 year or so, which can be delayed. So by doing such activities, and you need to understand each other's style of spending, style of investing तो ठीक है, लेकिन style of spending, that what kind of spending one does, and what is the need and what is the want. If you can differentiate between the two, and it can only happen when both of them they sit together. Best if there is a guide in front of them, who can tell them that what are the needs and what are the wants. So prioritize your expenses.
All right, so you definitely need to prioritize your expenses. And one more very important thing that so far you must have understood how to have your joint expenses done together, and how to, club your financial goals and start planning financially for that. But it's also very important for you to have your personal goals, which a lot of time couples, they tend to forget it. They have a lot of
Yeah,
financial responsibilities on them.
yeah.
How to do that for yourself? How to have clubbed financial goals but still be financially independent at the same time. That's very important, Vinayak.
Yeah. So, in fact, when you start with, say, double income, when both the partners are working, many times we have seen that after 10, 15, 12 years, the lady, she leaves the job because of the kids, or because of the family responsibilities. So it is very essential in today's world, especially when we get to see so many news uh, around us, where there are cases of separations and all. It is very, very essential that the lady, the she should keep some amount of money, and for herself every month, which should be invested, and which should not be touched. And it is always better when both the partners are in agreement on this, that they may need this money, she may need this money in the future, not only because of the separation. We have seen uh, during the pandemic, many things happened, many cases happened where the breadwinner lost the life. So if the lady of the house was financially independent, she could take care of the future expenses as well. So that makes her financially independent. If she starts early and uh, keeping aside some money to invest every month for the next 10, 12, 15 years.
All right. I think, we've discussed most of the important or crucial aspects of having your financial horoscope match before getting married. And that will be all in this segment for today. Thank you so much, Vinay, for taking time out
Thank
and
you.
helping our viewers with this.
Thanks, Kavita. Thanks.
So it's time to move on for a short break. But then before that, in tonight's episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow, Nagpur Springboard, we chart the transformation of the city into global logistics hub with an expert panel as they highlight the strategic location advantage offered by the city and its untapped potential and much more. Listen in.
How would you characterize Nagpur's current economic importance, current strategic value in today's climate?
In terms of infrastructure, we have seen a transformation in our region. We are gifted with Samruddhi Express, which takes just 12 hours by road to touch the metro city of almost 3 million plus people, such a big consumer market.
You will not find a single city in the country which will boast of an SEZ, a rail terminal, an air cargo complex, and a national highway in the periphery of only 200 meters. Yes. So this is one absolute location advantage that any industry will always find. And once you have this air cargo operational, all modes of transport will be available here. Nagpur actually is growing now.
We grew with the city and we have seen the city grow and we are still seeing it to grow. Like sir was saying, so many things are happening and we are very happy and excited about it because this helps us grow as well. We want a lot of business to come to Nagpur so that we can grow with the city itself.
For this exclusive conversation, tune into Leaders of Tomorrow tonight at 10:30 p.m. on ET Now. Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show with me, Kavita Thapliyal. A prenuptial agreement is a written contract entered into by a couple before marriage or a civil union that enables them to select and control many of the legal rights they acquire upon marrying and what happens when their marriage eventually ends by death or divorce. A couple enters into a written prenuptial agreement to supersede many of the default marital laws that would otherwise apply in the event of divorce, such as the laws that govern the division of property, retirement benefits, saving, and the right to seek alimony, with agreed upon terms that provide certainty and clarify their marital rights. A pre-marital agreement may also contain waivers of a surviving spouse's right to claim an elective share of the estate of the deceased spouse. Now, you must be wondering, why are we talking about all this? So today, or rather now, we'll be discussing about the importance of having a prenuptial agreement, because we are talking about in the event of a financial separation, maybe, to make it less cumbersome, why is it practical to maybe have a prenuptial agreement before you get married? And for this, I have with me Harsh Tungta, founder of Fee Only Investment Advisors. Harsh, good evening and welcome to the show. A lot of eyebrows must have been raised after looking at this topic today, because, we don't approach marriage or maybe a commitment like this with the first step where we think about a separation, okay? But let's look at it practically, okay? In the West, prenups are very common, especially when we talk about wealthy people or HNIs maybe over there. They definitely make sure that they have a set of prenup done, also because they have that kind of assets or estate on them. But then, even in India, we are seeing that people are, are at least aiming to understand or trying to understand the importance of this, because life is all about unpredictability. Of course, we don't get into any relationship or any sort of commitment thinking about a breakup or a separation. But when it comes to being financially ready, why can't we just protect ourselves? And having a prenup or a prenuptial agreement is just a way to do that, Harsh.
Well, I mean, there can be various points of view on that, Kavita.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
clearly there is nothing unnatural about a prenuptial agreement. I mean, even if we enter into a partnership or a collaboration with a completely unrelated party as a business, and although there is every intention to make sure that it remains a long-term partnership or a long-term collaboration, there is normally always a clause which says that what will happen if differences arises between the party, how will those disputes be resolved, how will any assets or liabilities arising from that partnership or collaboration be shared among the parties. So I think there is nothing unnatural about it. In fact, if you go one step further, uh, you know, there have been many court decisions that say that marriage under the Muslim law is actually a contract. And all the elements of a contract, a proposal, and acceptance, etc., are all there, and therefore it is only but natural that what would happen if that contract needs to be dissolved should be provided, which is essentially some sort of a prenuptial agreement, is fine. But to take the other view, if you look at, say, the Hindu law, I mean, it's the marriage is considered to be a sacrament, a solemn pledge, right? And you sort of have a contract that says that if we break this solemn pledge, and Bollywood movies would have us say that the solemn pledge is that we will stay together for 7 lives, what to speak of a single lifetime. And if we are breaking that solemn pledge, these is the way that we will keep the assets or the liabilities. Is does sound a little trite, if I may use the word. In any case, whatever be the legal position, culturally, it's a social contract, right? And you are entering into it voluntarily, and therefore a social contract that you are entering into voluntarily, typically socially the expectation is that it will last a lifetime. For that to have a fallback sort of an arrangement that in case it does not last a lifetime, what we will have, does give rise to social issues. But as I'm saying, I don't think there is any right or wrong about a prenuptial agreement. But I would think that, much more than the assets and liabilities, etc., which becomes an issue where people have a lot of assets to worry about. There are also several other social issues, such as custody of children, etc., which may not even have been born when you are getting married. So it's not as simple an issue as it sounds, and it has many, many layers of complications.
Harsh, one very basic question. So we'll discuss about how can one plan for a prenup and what all really what kind of ingredients already go into it. But then, can this agreement be challenged in court?
So I'm not really a legal expert, but I don't know whether courts in India will, take a prenuptial agreement into account. And definitely, if the contract is between two unequal parties, let's say one of the parties is very rich and the other party is not so rich, or one of the parties is weak for some reason, then can the courts overlook those agreements and pass their judgment in their own best judgment? I'm reasonably sure that can be done, but that's really a legal question which I would not be able to answer on a definitive basis.
This then dilutes the relevance and authenticity of a prenuptial agreement?
It could definitely.
Okay.
It's very much like employment. Just to give you an example, Kavita, there are non-compete agreements that employers enter into with employees. These have been subject matter of litigation, and in many cases the courts have held that these are not enforceable contracts. and that is between an employer and an employee, where it is anyways a matter of contract. So anything that infringes on the rights of a person, whether those contracts will be enforced by the courts or not, is clearly to me a matter of doubt.
All right, so let's also talk about what all actually gets into making a prenuptial agreement. Okay, so what are the kind of things that we should be concerned about and which should be a part of a prenup?
So it's tough to answer that for two reasons. One, I've never been personally, neither I nor my firm has ever been involved in such an activity. But if we look at it from a overall perspective, I think basically a prenuptial agreement would basically be to protect assets of the parties. So obviously there might be one party that might have more assets going into the relationship, and that party might want to sort of protect it in the case the marriage sort of does not work out. And it would be very interesting to know what happens if the marriage takes place under, for example, the Portuguese civil law that's applicable to marriages that take place in Goa under the Portuguese civil law, which if my limited knowledge of law serves me right, which makes the properties a community property. Both the properties belong to both parties. I'm not sure how exactly that works. So basically, this will be an asset protection agreement. In some cases, it could also be a liability sharing agreement. Think of a couple that's taking a home loan, a massive home loan to buy a house to live in together. And if this is if the marriage doesn't work out, then who's going to pay the loan, who's going to stay in the house. I think working that out, whether while the marriage is while people are separating, or to work it out beforehand, in either case I think that could also be part of a prenuptial agreement.
All right, Harsh, I think we've tried to cover whatever aspects we could on a prenup agreement, and obviously it will be advisable to have a legal advisor in the next conversation related to this topic. But anyways, thank you so much, Harsh, for being on the show and helping our viewers with having a prenuptial agreement. So what we'll do right now is just move on to a quick break, and post that we'll be having Amol Joshi with us, who will answer your mutual fund portfolio related queries. And if in case you are also someone who's been wanting to take some help from us, from our experts, for your financial goals, for your investments, all you can do is just send us your question on our WhatsApp number. We are also available on YouTube. So what you can do is just watch our all shows on YouTube, and also put down your question in our comment box, because we also now include YouTube related queries on our show. You can also email us your queries on themoneyshow@etnow.com.tv, and 865-797-4571 is our WhatsApp number, where we keep waiting for your questions. See you after this break. Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show. I'm Kavita Thapliyal, and the last bit of the show, where there are a plethora of funds available in the market to invest your hard-earned money in. But how do you assess which is the right fund for your portfolio? What are the criteria that one should look at to help you navigate through this maze? We have on board Amol Joshi, founder, Plan Rupee Investment Services. Also, do not forget to send us your portfolio queries on our WhatsApp number, which is 865-797-4571. You can also email us your queries on themoneyshow@etnow.tv. So that's the place where we keep waiting for your questions. Also, if you watch our shows on YouTube, you can leave your question in the comment box, and we shall include your questions on the show. All right, so Amol, good evening and welcome to the show. Let's move on to our viewer queries, and let's take Parag's question first. He says the time horizon for his investment is 15 years and goal is early retirement. Okay, I'm looking for his age. He's 29 years old, and investment monthly that he's doing is 70,000. Current portfolio size is almost 21 lakhs, and he wants to understand the maths behind having 1 lakh per month as income from this portfolio after his retirement. And he's got Parag Parekh Flexi Cap, Mirror Asset Emerging. He's got Mirasset Large Cap, Kotak Emerging Equity, ICICI Value Discovery, SBI Small Cap, Axis Small Cap in his portfolio, and okay, he's also doing STP for that. Okay, now looking at these funds, and we actually don't have the age at which he wants to retire. So maybe he's 29, and let's assume that maybe he's talking about retiring at the age of 40 or 45, because that's what typically early retirement these days mean, Amol. So a goal of 1 lakh per month at the age of 40 or maybe 45. If I have to do a reverse calculation, how much should I be able to invest now? How much investment is needed now?
Absolutely, Kavita. This is the right approach. And as you mentioned, Parag wants to, current age is 29, and Parag wants to retire in next 15 years. Investment horizon is given as 15 years. So first and foremost, as you rightly mentioned, we should do the reverse calculation. Parag's existing monthly expenses are 1 lakh rupee per month. If you assume an inflation of 6% over next 15 years, these expenses themselves will rise from 1 lakh rupee per month to 2.4 lakh rupee per month. So that's the kind of requirement he will have from age 44, 45 when he wants to retire. That's the first leg of this retirement planning exercise that we are doing for him. Now, second leg is assume life expectancy of about 80 years. So from age 45 till age 80 is Parag has 35 more years for himself to sustain on his portfolio that he is going to accumulate over next 15 years. Again, by doing the reverse calculations, we understand that he should have 15 years from now a sum of rupees 3.75 crore. If that sum, because he will further have 35 years of investments also. So your entire corpus, obviously, you are not going to spend in 1 day, 1 month, 1 year or so, simply because you have to sustain yourself for 35 more years. So that corpus will also be invested. So if that invested corpus gives about 11% sort of a returns and 4 to 5% inflation, then 3.75 crore rupees is the requirement that will fulfill his need for next 35 years. Last but not the least, how to get to this 3.75 crore rupees amount. His existing lump sum is 21 lakh rupees and 70,000 is the monthly SIP. If he continues with the same rate of investment of SIPs, and if he's in his portfolio is all equity, in an all equity portfolio, if he gets 12% kind of CAGR, he will accumulate close to 4.5 crore rupees. So congratulations, Parag. If you are listening to this, if you are hearing us, you are well on your way to achieve your early retirement. Coming to schemes, I can see there are two schemes in the emerging domain. There are two schemes in the small cap domain. One of the scheme in small cap is a much lesser size, 10,000 rupees in SBI small cap and 3,000 rupees in Axis small cap. I would say combine these two schemes into one, reduce your fresh investments. You can reduce your large cap schemes also from 2 to 1, and your fresh investments can go mainly into flexi cap schemes. So that's my recommendation to you, Parag, and once again, congratulations.
All right, Amol, let's move on. And I have Prasanjit besides question. I think Prasanjit is there with me online also. Prasanjit, hi, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
You have a question on mid-cap sector, a mutual fund of mid-cap or real estate
Yes,
also.
ma'am. Yes.
Okay,
I
any
have
specific reason? Sure.
Ma'am,
Yeah?
I am a government employee. My salary around 42K monthly. So I want to make a plan of next 10 to 15 years for my daughter higher education and also my retirement benefit. So I am invested now around 10K regular basis as a SIP in various mutual funds. These are HDFC large and mid cap fund, IDCW with SIP 2K. Next one is HDFC mid cap opportunities fund, growth direct plan. There is also 2K. And Miraj Asset flexi cap fund, direct plan. There is also another 2K. And another is Quant small cap fund, growth direct plan. There is SIP 1K. And another is Navy flexi cap fund, direct growth plan, SIP 1K. And the last one, just I am started before 1 month ago, HDFC Small Cap Direct Plan Growth SIP 1K. So, ma'am, my target is to be
So, Prasanjit,
CAGR around 12% to 15%.
Prasanjit, 1 second. Prasanjit, 1 second. I will have to stop you because these details were not given to us, okay? And because we did not have these details, we couldn't forward it to our guests. It gets slightly difficult for the guests to even do your complete financial planning because what we try to do is just give you the best possible plan or investment instrument for your financial goals. I would request you to send us your question with all these details once again. Amol, right now, whatever detail you have, whatever question you've got that Prasanjit has sent us, what can you recommend him?
Right, Kavita. So main question from Mr. Prasanjit was whether I should do direct stocks in mid-cap sector or whether I should go towards mutual fund, whether I should go towards real estate. Which of these instruments will make me a 15% CAGR over next 10 to 15 years? So my answer to this is, see, if you have to ask whether you should do direct stocks, that simply means that as of now you are not doing or you do not possess that expertise, at least so far. Real estate, you cannot invest in chunks of many of your SIPs are 1,000, 2,000 rupees, Mr. Prasanjit. With that kind of amount, I do not think you will be able to invest into any reasonable real estate asset. So what you are left with till your corpus builds to a certain level or till you develop expertise to invest in your preferred mid-cap sector in direct stocks, I would suggest that you choose the path of mutual fund. That is probably the best of both worlds. Why? One is because mutual fund is managed by professional fund manager. As of now, you are not able to make up your mind where to invest. Leave that decision on the mutual fund manager. Number one. Number two, your horizon of 10 to 15 years is long enough so that you can choose equity-oriented investments in mutual funds. Within your preferred mid-cap sector, you can choose to look at mid-cap mutual funds also. Within mid-cap space, you can consider a couple of schemes, Motilal Oswal mid-cap fund or HDFC mid-cap fund. Last but not the least, mutual fund is also a tax-efficient vehicle. Long-term capital gain tax is only 10%. I think this is much better compared to real estate or other investment avenues where you cannot invest in a small chunks as well as you cannot redeem in small chunks. Your entire real estate investment, one fine day when you need money, you'll have to liquidate the entire chunk. You cannot sell one room out of a 2-room or a 3-room flat. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, all the best, Prasanjit. We move on. I have Lakshmi online with me. Lakshmi, hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Thank you so much for sending us your question. What I can see is you've invested in Mira Asset, NYC Fang Plus ETF Fund of Fund in 2021 and you are in profits right now, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the whole idea or intention for investing in this fund?
Diversification to the US markets, and I was hoping that would be a good one. May I just share my concern?
Sure. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for taking my query. And recently, not recently, about a couple of months ago, there was a talk about recession in the US. Where but in the recent past, I have seen news items that recession is not happening, thankfully, because I've invested in Miri, of course. But so I just wanted a brief about this fund, that I should hold on, that I should book profit.
Sure.
I'm a senior citizen, by the way, and I have the ability to wait.
Okay. You know, that's lovely that you read up so much and you are concerned about the performance of your fund and also because you're in profits, you would obviously concerned about the money that you're making on it. And you being a senior citizen, in spite of that, you're invested in equities. Hats off to that. I hope a lot of investors of your age, learned that from you. But having said that, no recession, but then chances of slowdown, that's still lingering on the international market. But having said that, for the purpose of diversification, international diversification and specifically the US market is a fantastic choice that you have. But if you have a longer time horizon, will it be comfortable for you to stick to this fund if you have, because 2021, I can see you've invested, right? So do you really need this money? Or are you, just because of the fear of recession or slowdown, you want to be out of this fund?
Second one is true. Whether I should not just completely exit the fund, probably book my profits, so at least to the extent of reclaiming my costs.
All right. Interesting question. And Amol, Although I'm sure a lot of other investors who've diversified their portfolio in the international market and especially in the US market might have the same kind of question in their mind. But let's look at it this way, okay? It's good to have diversification in their portfolio as far as international markets is concerned, but also one needs to time it very right, okay? But the kind of concern that Lakshmi has is very right. She also wants to cover the cost and also she's earning profit, so might as well just make use of it. But having said that, we always advise to have a financial plan or investment as per a goal. You know, you need to be slightly disciplined when you have this kind of a financial plan in your hand. Yes, there are concerns about the US market, but at the same time, if you have a slightly longer time horizon, maybe 5 to 7 years, won't you just mitigate all your risk by that time?
Right. So this is absolutely valid point, Kavita, and I will try to answer based on this as well. I also want to add one very valuable piece of information that Lakshmi has given to us. She said that she invested in this specific scheme for international or geographical diversification. So now that itself tells us that she has an existing portfolio which is comprising not just of this scheme, but probably multiple schemes and probably of a bigger size, since she used the word diversification. Now, when we say diversification, the entire idea of diversification is investing into several asset classes that are not closely correlated. So when I assume that largest part of your portfolio would probably into Indian fixed income and Indian equities. And diversification you can get by investing into international equities or probably precious metals like gold. Diversification will work only when those assets remain a part of your portfolio, because you never know. 2 years back, for the previous 10 years, Nasdaq was the best performing index or best performing investment. It grew about 1250% in that period of time. So this is something, market is something that you cannot predict, and newspapers probably are not the best indicators, because few weeks back you read that there is a recession. Now recently you read that recession has been so this is not how it operates. I would say if you want to actually enjoy the fruits of your diversification, remain invested. Now, where I'm going to suggest you about profit booking is, instead of calling it profit booking, please do the rebalancing. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have chosen that your Indian equities are 60%, and if your Indian debt component is 30%, and 10% is your international diversification, because of market going up, if that 10% that suppose, for example, has ballooned, if that component has gone up to 15%, then rebalance that 5% and invest it back into Indian equities or debt. Rebalancing is much better way of doing it rather than calling it profit booking, because you will probably not like it. After you do the profit booking, that particular fund or that particular FANG ETF goes up by another 10 or 20%. So I would say follow your portfolio approach, which Kavita also mentioned just now, and do the periodic rebalancing. Annual rebalancing is probably the best way to go, because you will be saved from most typical funds have 1 year of exit load. I'm not talking about this fund, but a broader portfolio approach. And many a times equity, you have advantage of long-term capital gain tax instead of short-term, which is 15%, and LTCG is 10%. So considering these advantages, annual rebalancing is probably the best thing that you can do for your portfolio.
All right, the time is up, and Lakshmi, I hope that you've understood whatever Amol tried explaining you. And with that, thank you so much, Amol, for being on the show and helping our viewers with their financial portfolios today. And it's a wrap on the Money Show with that, but we request you to send us your financial portfolio queries on our WhatsApp number. That's an email ID. Also, YouTube. You can send us your queries on YouTube also. Write down your question on the comment box, and we'll include your questions on the show and do your live financial planning. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.